about the crisis in Western Africa, about Ebola. You remember that maybe? The Ebola crisis in Western Africa. And yeah, I said, Ebola, oh, no, thank you. So, I talked to my family at home, my wife, 2 daughters, and they asked me to do something about Ebola. And I said, oh, you have to do that, it's great, fantastic, yeah, you have to go there. So I said, okay, I will make it. So I went with Doctors Without Borders to Western Africa and came into this camp. And so I made a reportage about this time in Western Africa. So now you understand this picture perhaps a bit better. You recognize the guys? I mean, this kind of people who treated the ill people there. Ever seen before? Remember them? So you know what Ebola is. So you have one of the most deadly diseases, very fast, very, how do you say, when it springs over very fast, very aggressive. So I came into the camp and they said, yeah, great that you're here and do a work about us, but today our last survivor will leave camp and after that we will destroy the camp. So I was there making a reportage about the camp they were building down. But at the end I got an interesting story and I'd like to share it with you, that you see what is also possible to make with drawings. Drawings don't have to be always funny, but they also can transport very different things. And I think people like it very much. It's so different from what they are used to. So, yeah, that's another photo from this Ebola camp, because you never had to touch anybody else. So, now, this was the first page, and I could publish this reportage in the newspaper. Sorry about the quality of that, I can't change it. So, but I will give you also the papers from this reportage. This is the reportage, excuse me, about Western Africa. Maybe I show the first page. So you see here, that's the same thing, but it was like that in the newspaper. So what's special about the Comic-Reportage? The most special thing, if you have a guy who makes a report and is drawing, people don't take him for serious. And that's also an advantage. So you're there and people see you drawing and they think, what the hell is this guy doing? What is that? And you are here and drawing. I think I have a photo about it, I will show it. So you see, that's me drawing in this camp in Western Africa. It's very hot, and the guy who's looking there, what the hell is this guy's doing? But because when you draw, you are slow. You're there and you stand or sit there, you're drawing, and it takes time. And people are coming and look, what are you doing here? And so you say, drawing. And so, because you don't take a photo, you're there for a long time, and they get confidence into you. And if they see, if you draw something, they recognize themselves. They love you. At the end of the day, you have a lot of friends, and they will help you, and they will like the work, and that's a fantastic access to something which normally a guy, I say, who takes photographs, is always very fast. So, because you are slow, you have it's a human access to a problem. Because people say you take your time, you're with them, you're there, and try to realize what's going on. And this is a form which is really interesting also to make or to work for, because you can also show a lot of things which in other media is much more difficult. Let's go back to this side. So you see that's the first page. You recognize more or less here, sorry. This is the camp from this Ebola camp. Maybe you remember, we've seen photos of these orange fences, we've seen tents, we've seen people, but we never understood how the camp works. So in a Comic-Reportage, in a drone reportage, you can show without problems the whole system. How did this system work? Here is the ill people come in, they have to be separated, they have to make triage, the really ill people go there and so on. Here are the dead, and here are the dead, and here are the really ill ones. Here are people who help, and I have a lot of people telling me after that, hey, it's the first time I understand how this whole thing works. And I think that's a very good thing to help people understand things which normally in a film or in a newspaper you don't get. So that was the second part, the second page from 3 pages in the newspaper. So now here, not sure, you see the last survivor of the camp. The second last had died the day before. And this one, but now was sane and he could go to freedom. So they had a big dance and a party, and it was the first time you could touch him again. That's very special. And here they began to run down the camp, to burn all the things, because it was very dangerous. These guys, 35 degrees in these, how do you say, as you see on the photo before. I mean, I think they had 50 degrees in these things. They had to burn the whole camp. And these are the guys, I made portraits of the guys, they liked it. I mean, because I talked to them, I brought them, and so that was really a great thing for them. And then I could also show, like, people always in these things worked on, because the crisis wasn't over yet. And yeah, this was the cemetery of the town where a lot of dead, also from this Ebola disease. Sorry once again for the shortness. So 2 years later, that was 1 year before, I got another contact to Doctors Without Borders, and they asked me to come to Ukraine. So I said, okay, yeah, what shall I do? And they said, yeah, please come to the eastern Ukraine and make a reportage about the work of Doctors Without Borders in eastern Ukraine. So I was here a year before. And I started in Kiev. They made an introduction. Yeah. And this is the reportage about my trip to Kiev. Here you see Mark, who made an introduction to their work, where they work, what they do. And the following day I went down to Mariupol. I think you all know where Mariupol is, and you know much better, much more than I do about it. But yeah, here, have a look in it, if you like to. So here we have the same thing again. I used my story, this would be the Maidan. Maidan, is that? Okay, Maidan. You see the column. But I used here also a map for showing what's going on. I mean, where is the frontier in eastern Ukraine? Who is who? Where is everywhere? And where is Doctors Without Borders? And that is really helpful for the readers, because they say, oh, okay, we are here, now we go there, we do it, they do it like that. Then we went to Mariupol. These are impressions of Mariupol. Here I'm presented to the team of Doctors Without Borders in Mariupol. And this is Felix. He's a cartoonist. And all people said, cartoonist? What this guy wants to do here? Yeah, cartoonist, but I do also serious pictures. And I showed them my work for about Ebola, so they got a bit confidence in me. And I could join them for several trips where they go with mobile clinics to villages to help people. And I also, you see me here to get the security stuff, helmet and whatever you need to go into this conflict zone. And then we went into this, out in these villages. So it was kind of a road trip going out in these countries, and I could show people in Switzerland, and so people have no impression of what's going on in eastern Ukraine. So I tried to make a mix about information about Doctors Without Borders, about the war, which is going on, and about my trip there, because I, as a greenhorn, coming there and see all the thing and try to tell other people what's going on there. So we went to a village, and they also have psychological help now for the people. This is new, that they try to give people psychological help. People are always a bit, no, I don't need that, well, it's not so important. But it's, I think it's going better, that they understand that it's really helpful. Yesterday they gave me also from Doctors Without Borders, that's this reportage, have a look into it, that's the main thing, but it's much more beautiful than the one in the newspaper. That's the English version, I give it, if you like to. That's another Ukrainian version. You gave it, yeah. So, and this reportage about Ukraine was on two channels, no channels, it's the wrong word. It was in the newspaper I worked for. It was a reportage about 3 pages, you have it here. And it was also an exhibition in the building where the newspaper is, where I worked for. And it was also an exhibition, and you see it's huge now. These are poster size. It was an exhibition at the biggest comic event in Switzerland. It's every year in April in Lucerne. It's called Fumetto. Doctors Without Borders are every year represented by a drawn reportage about their work at this comic festival. So this is a very strange thing, because it's called Comic Festival, but they are represented by the quite sad stories about their work. But it's a great thing to have the opportunity to to have an exposition there, and this poster size. These books, or these small books, I gave that the posters, but minimized on another size. Yeah, that was the last page of this trip, and here you would see like stuck in the snow at the end. We wanted to visit the village in the west of Donetsk, not far from Donetsk. We want to go there, give psychological help, and we stuck in the snow, and I never got there. And yesterday I met the head of mission of Doctors Without Borders from last year, and I said, you know what? 2 weeks ago I was stuck in the snow in the west of Donetsk like you did a year before, so it's still the same. Do you have a question about this kind of work, of reportage, or do you want anything to know, or did I forget something to mention? Yeah.
What is the average age of your readers of these Comic-Reportages? What is the age of your readers?
The age of the readers of my newspaper, the age of the reader of my newspaper, because there are not so many anymore. No, we have a very broad reach, but I would say it's my age. That means about 40 to 70. I mean, I'm over 50 now. But I would say it's my generation.